Stop! Don't let go.
Okay.
Stop! There's two of them talking.
Views and opinions are not necessarily that of John Strange, host, guests, and affiliated networks.
You have everything of a great conspiracy. How did I get? Yeah, it's kind of a creepy place, you know, because there's no light at all. A lot of experiments out there. Plutonium, nuclear weapon, nuclear destruction. They're just balls of light. What the hell did I do? They're just balls of light. What the hell is going on? Plutonium, nuclear weapon, nuclear destruction. How did I get? You have everything of a great conspiracy.
Welcome everyone to Beyond the Strange Friday night hangouts. How you doing, everybody? I am Dave Cruz, your host, and sorry for the late start tonight. It's just been one of those days, and it's all good though, because we are here and we have started, and I'm really happy to be here tonight. So anyways, if you are listening on the YouTube hangouts, of course, this is where we're broadcasting. You can go to Twitter and go to @StrangeDays2015. Follow us there. The hashtag is the letter B and the word strange after that. So it's hashtag #BeStrange. So go there and follow the chat that's happening in there tonight. Also, we are usually on Spreaker. You can go to Spreaker.com, look for Beyond the Strange, and mainly Sunday night shows. That's for the interviews. So you can go there and check that out. Sunday nights, 7 p.m. Pacific. And that's a live show, just like this one is every time we broadcast. So tonight is basically, this is pretty much freeform tonight. It's one of those nights where we just go ahead and pick a topic, go around the round table, whoever's there. It's all good. Thanks, Luna Sparkles. I think that's somebody else I know, but going by another name, that's cool. Luna Sparkles. I like that. We got S. Connor and Mark Dunbar. How you doing, Mark? Thanks for joining us tonight. Angela, how you doing? Harlequin. I probably said that wrong and butchered it, but thanks for joining us. And so far tonight, we have Mr. Rick Sinnott joining us tonight in the Hangouts. How you doing tonight, Mr. Sinnott?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Just a little late start. It's been a long day, but everyone has them. So it's all good. And also with us tonight, joining us through Skype, we have Mr. Mark Eddy joining us. Mark, how are you doing tonight?
I'm fine. How about you, Dave?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing fantastic. And we're going to talk a little bit about superhumans. And just so people kind of get an idea of what I'm getting at is we all read comic books and watch superheroes and all that stuff on TV and cartoons and all of that. But, you know, there really are people out there with real life superhuman powers. And we're going to get into that a little bit. But, you know, today and yesterday, I got to say, I didn't vote. Okay. I'm going to tell you guys right now, I didn't vote. I didn't pick anyone. I have, you know, I feel that I have my right to do that. And so, you know, it's something that I believe that that everyone has a right. So here it is. We really need everybody. We all need to just sit back and relax and know that there is a different president that's about to be sworn in January. Okay. And let's all just get along, man. Just like, you know, Rodney King says. I mean, I'm for that. Seriously, because I was really scared yesterday when I went to pick up my daughter and I saw nothing but cops. And I mean, the police force was, you know, in force all around the school. And to find out that there had been a riot started because of this stupid election, I was scared to death. You know, luckily my daughter was able to text me and say she was okay and she was coming out. But, you know, I found out that students were throwing, you know, stuff through windows and breaking glass and just being violent and all of this garbage that's happening right now. And I posted it on Facebook. Okay. You guys know where I stand. And so I'm basically just going to come out and say it. And this is not going to be a political show tonight. But what I want to just say is let's just all get along, okay? And talk to your children. And if they've seen how you guys have acted or anybody else, I'm talking to the people out there who really need to talk to their kids, who don't talk to their kids. Let them know, hey, you know what? Whatever I feel doesn't necessarily has to reflect on you. And don't take it out on any school property or businesses or anything like that, because that's not the way to do it. Okay. We all try to make a living. You know, we all want to go to school. We all want to be able to ride a bus. You know, this is stuff that we all take for granted. And when something like this happens and there's rioting all over the place, it just doesn't make sense, you know. And I'm probably being naive, but I really want to just put that message out there. You know, I love you guys. I hope you all, you know, get through this like we are. And, you know, all I can say is just God bless, man. That's all I have to say is you know, let's just all try to get through this. Okay. And Rick wanted to, you know, talk about this a little bit, and we are going to talk. You know, I'm just going to give Rick the floor because we talked about it. He's not going to really choose sides or anything like that, but he's going to give his opinion.
Well,
about what this is, what's happening.
Well, first off, I've already voted, so I mean I don't really need to beat a dead horse. Over the course of the election, I've unfriended people, don't talk to them anymore. Bad conversations. There's one person that I have, one person I have completely blocked. They're on my dead list because of all this. And what my issue is first off, people don't vote. No offense, Dave, but like you and I have talked about, if you don't vote, then you don't have a right to bitch. I mean, flat out. If you don't
let me get that straight though. Let me straighten out.
Well, hold on. If you don't make dinner, you don't really have a right to complain that the turkey's dry. You know what I mean? Yeah.
But that's where we're talking about which turkey. You know, that's what I'm saying. I'm not talking about a specific turkey. I'm talking about this election in general.
Yeah. Well, the election in general, I hate to tell everybody, it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. You have all collectively failed your country, is what it comes down to. And this is why, before everybody gets upset for my inflammatory statement, is not voting on a local level. All of the politicians you hate today, all the ones that you complain about, they had to start somewhere, and they start with local elections. And if you don't want those people running the country tomorrow, block them now. Block them before they get above and beyond, you know, local, county, state, what have you. And the reason, and I know the rebuttal will be, well, Trump wasn't, you know, military, he wasn't a politician, and he wasn't a lawyer. And you're right, because we had an absolute lack of decent politicians to choose from who actually do know what they're doing in a political arena. Because we had crap to pull from, well, that's how Trump got elected. And I personally feel that both sides were trying to sell fear-mongering, fear porn, and bogus, you know, forgive me, bullshit tinfoil media didn't help. And so it was just, it was a shitstorm from the beginning. And it's just the only thing that we can do as the American people is to vote. In 2 years, when we're voting for Congress, whatever, get out and vote. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. Get out and freaking vote if you don't want a total horror show, you know, in another 4 years or another 8 years or 12 years. Vote now. Get the crap people out, and also block them before they get anywhere near anything significant. That's what it really comes down to. The American people collectively failed itself. That's pretty much my take on it. I personally, and I will claim sides because I don't care. I would have rather had Kasich than Trump. And I'm a Democrat. I would have rather had Kasich. But that's just me.
Yeah, like I said, everyone's entitled to their opinion. Thank you very much for, you know, telling me your opinion. And again, you know, I totally get where you're coming from. I understand. My point of view is not from the candidates or who to vote for, or not even voting. My point of view is coming from people in general who are violent, who are using violence as a way to they're just not, it's not even really protesting. It's just being violent and stupid. And that's what I am trying to get across.
Well, what that is
people don't need to do that.
Well, no, they don't. And what that is that's panic. Because if you look at the media, whether or not it was accurate, okay, keep that in mind. It doesn't matter if it was accurate. What was coming through in the media, and this is what I'm talking about, the BS tinfoil media. Yeah, one side saying that Hillary Clinton is this Satanist. Well, it didn't really get her too far, but yeah, she's a Satanist. And on this other side, you know, oh, Trump is you know, whatever, and people are believing it. They're not vetting their sources. They're not researching anything. They're being lazy, and they're taking what they're spoon-fed by the neckbeard living in their mom's basement equivalent of mass media. Nothing that they're really putting out is even close to the truth. It's like maybe 0.001% true. And these people, they're going off of that. They're not vetting anything. They're going off of some weird BS, unvettable fringe, you know, news source. And that's what they're letting sway the election. basically this election was dictated by tinfoil fringe that had no basis in reality. And the people that are freaking out and they're rioting, it's because they're scared. There have been so far 8 teenage transgenders who have committed suicide because they're scared to death of Trump being in office. And
That's
nobody should
I
live in fear. There are
no,
women
nobody should
who-
live in fear. You're right.
Yeah.
I understand, but I'm telling you right now, nobody needs to pick up a chair and throw it through a goddamn window.
No, and that's
And
what
the
problem
people
is.
who are not protesting, in this case, they're kids, they're high school kids. In this case, they're high school kids. They have nothing to do with this. They get hurt in the meantime.
You know what it is they're looking for an excuse for their
I
bad
know they're looking
behavior.
for excuses.
That's exactly what it
Exactly.
is. This, a bunch of teenage
exactly
kids
it.
that won't even be legal to vote for a few years. Come on,
Right.
what are you going to do? You couldn't even vote in the first place.
Go ahead, Mark. You got
Yeah,
a opinion? Go ahead.
Okay, why is it, for the previous 44 elections, there wasn't this kind of rioting, and it's just this one is generating the burning of cars and marches and protests? I don't have an answer either. I just am just wondering why is it this election that is generating so much controversy after it's over?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we can assume things. We can say this is my opinion or that's your opinion or whatever. What I'm talking about is straight fact. Is that there is a lot of violence, a lot of rioting that didn't need to happen, and I understand the fear factor. I also understand that there are people out there who are transgender, gay, bi, black, white, Mexican, Chinese. I understand that. This is my point is the rioting, the violence, it needs to stop. That's all I'm saying. It needs to stop. There's a different way of protesting, and that is all I'm saying is there needs to be an alternative to it.
To answer
need to
Mark's
stop.
question,
Go
sorry.
ahead.
The reason why it's gone just unbelievably stupid, this election, is because you have people who are old enough to remember the Gore-Bush election where, yeah, okay, that's great. You won the popular vote, but you didn't win the popular vote in the right states, so therefore you lose the electoral. And people still don't quite understand how the electoral college works. And so you have that disbelief that basically we determine our president by an overglorified game of darts. If you think about it, all these states are worth different amount of points. You got to win a certain state, and you're basically racing up to 270, points, and whoever gets there first wins. So it's kind of like, a bar game combined with like old school Nintendo or Atari. So there's that which alienates people because they don't truly understand it. And then when you hear all the rhetoric from the various supporters and from the people themselves, that scares people. So what you're getting is fear because, and I'm not drawing a comparison, but I'm explaining why people are scared. And just remember this. Now you hear everybody talking about, Trump's like Hitler and all this other stuff. And like, oh, well, after the election, nobody in jackboots kicking down your door. Well, the reason why is it took Hitler years. He was elected in as the chancellor and eventually wrestled control and became the Fuhrer. And that's what people are afraid of. I'm not saying that's what's going to happen. I'm not saying that's what his agenda is. But when you have that much negativity coming out of a campaign, and then when you reference back to World War II, and here you have Adolf Hitler, who empowered the people, and the majority of the voters for Trump were people who are not college graduates and middle American white people. And lately in the media, you've been seeing a lot of stuff for, gay rights. You've been seeing a lot of gay characters on TV, a lot of, comic book characters coming out of the closet, like Iceman from the X-Men. So they're feeling attacked, even though that may not be the case. They're feeling attacked, and they're feeling intimidated. So then here you have a candidate saying, hey, I'm going to make all that crap go away. You'll be safe again. Of course they're going to vote for him, just like the Germans did in the 30s.
Well, just to make the situation more confusing, what about all the Facebook posts that say that Soros is funding the rioters?
Again, that has been generated by a community that a lot of us are familiar with.
Yeah.
And the thing about it is you have to take it with a grain of salt, because what do you always say, Rick? Extraordinary what?
Extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof, and also sometimes
Exactly.
a cigar is just a cigar.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, with this, I know there's a lot of people, and they're just going to say that I'm a shill or whatever, or that I'm disinfo for saying this. But there isn't an Illuminati plot behind all this. This actually came from American lethargy. It came from social media and all of your little, what I call slacktivists. They think they're making positive change by posting something, on Facebook and saying, oh, well, I did my good deed, but they don't actually go out and do anything. And if you don't actually go out and do something, jack shit is going to happen. And so it's just, this election actually is just a perfect storm of what our society has become. And the thing is I'm a computer technician, and I've been around the internet since it was even a thing to the general public. I'm not going to say I was on the internet back when it was ARPANET or anything like that. But I mean, I've seen the evolution, or in some cases, the de-evolution of the internet and society overall. And that's what's happening. So you have unvetted, just harebrained, conspiracy theories and stuff like that, and it's just sometimes that's not the case. It really isn't. It comes down to people not being able to take responsibility for their own actions or inaction in this case. Now that's pretty much what I got.
Rick, I think you're right about the what you said about the slacktivists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in fact, in some ways, I've been guilty of it. I'm not going to lie.
I've dealt with people who want to draw awareness to an issue. It's like, oh, okay. I can get you, some interviews. Come over to my house and, or give me your phone number. We'll pull you in during a conversation. I'll get you some coverage. Stay in touch. But when it comes down to you having to help me with a project unrelated to you being on, getting media coverage. Mm-hmm. They won't come out. There's every excuse in the book about why they can't do something to help me document and the frack trucks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But so it's all about when there's media coverage and you can get on the radio or be on TV, you'll show up. But when there's just doing the grunt work, it's oh man, my arthritis, my knees flaring up today. Well, suck it up. I thought this was so important to you.
Yeah.
So I've experienced that a lot, and it's left a really bad taste in my mouth.
Yeah, and well, they're just interested in the photo op. In fact, Dave and I have encountered the same thing in some ways with the show itself. The people that want to be involved until it actually requires any sort of labor. I've come across the same thing on investigations. It comes down to the same thing with just like a bake sale at the school to help raise money for their second grader or whatever. In fact, a great example. My kids, they're playing indoor soccer at the Y, and I wasn't able to go to practice that day because I had work stuff. But
oh, you're live right now.
Hello.
Rick's sorry. Athena's just joined us, Rick.
Okay, hello. But there was no coach for my 6-year-old son's team, and my wife told me about it. I'm like, okay, well, give me the paperwork. Fine, screw it, I'll do it. And I swear to God, the first parent that criticizes me, they're like, you know what, you're right. I don't know what I'm doing. Hand him the clipboard and says, show me how it's done. And I bet you anything it'd shut him up. But I mean, and luckily a dad, stepped up before, I got to it. But I mean, they won't even coach like their own kids' games. But they expect everybody else to do it. It's like, oh, little Jimmy is playing soccer and I can get all these really cool soccer pictures to show all my friends and family and on Facebook and all that stuff. But when it's time to actually coach, it's like, oh, well, I can't do that. It's like, what, you don't know how to Google how to teach people play soccer? I mean, it's a bunch of 4-year-olds to 6-year-olds. How can you screw it up?
The apathy is really bad. No responsibility. Like Facebook isn't the answer. Sometimes since the example I already gave you about say smells coming from a frac pad, noise, the trucks being in my front yard. And I just ask people, hey, come on, help me document this. You stand on my property. You live this experience with me. Just come out for half hour. You pick the 30 minutes of the day you want to come out. You want to come out 4 o'clock in the morning with the truck still going by, where it's difficult to sleep with it sounds like a train going through your house. Come out and help me document it, and present your findings to like the county health board.
Or hell, hey, you know what? Since people are inherently lazy, or they won't do anything unless it benefits them. Why don't you try this in your neighborhood? Everybody put like $5 into the pot, and whoever documents the most gets the pot.
Right.
I mean, turn it into a game. Do something to motivate these shiftless bastards to actually do something for themselves.
The neighbors aren't too happy. They're hearing the trucks go in between our homes too.
I got to bring this back. I got to bring this back to topic, guys. Okay.
Sorry about. Hey, you said anything?
I know. I
just want to let you know. I've seen the exact same thing Rick's talking about.
No, I believe it. I believe it. I totally believe it. Yeah, and I agree with almost 99.9%.
Almost.
But we got to get back on topic, and I actually do want to. I want to address that we do have Athena with us right now. How you doing, Athena? Well, we did have Athena with us.
Hey there, I'm doing good. I'm here.
There you are. How you doing tonight?
Had you on mute there for a moment. I'm doing good.
All right, okay, cool. Thanks for joining us tonight. We were just wrapping up a little bit of the View BTS style.
I don't even know which one I am.
No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, yeah, we're just trying to we were trying to make heads or tails of this stupid election thing. It's done. It's over. We have a new president elect. Let's just go on about our business, okay, people. That's all I have to say about that. So, yeah, tonight's topic is the superhumans, and what I was thinking about last couple of months, I've been wanting to do like a superhero show, but it's not mainly about superheroes because Rick, there was a person, and we could talk about Max Spears a little bit later, but there was a person that you had sent me a YouTube video on. What was the name of that person again? Do you remember? I'm trying to think of his name. Now Rick's there. I don't hear him. That's all right. He sent me a video on. He sent me a video on this one person. Lash, and I remember Jeffrey Allen Lash, and I remember that Eric Awakening Man had brought this up, and the video said that he might have been an alien human hybrid.
Oh, the guy that was that was hoarding all the guns and stuff like that in Southern California.
Right.
Yeah, that was interesting. I don't know if anybody's really looked at his DNA or whatever, but a lot of science actually just lead towards mental instability.
Yeah, that could be, and then again with the thing with Max Spears, there's a lot that was going on with him. That he was like also a super soldier. I could be wrong on some of these things that I'm trying to remember about Max Spears, but this kind of goes along with the superhumans that I'm talking about. Is there's that there have been accounts of people who have done supernatural things, and a lot of it is like psychokinesis, or what is it, telekinesis.
Yeah.
We were talking earlier about Uri Geller. That was another. I don't know if he's ever been made out to be a con man, or everything he did was bullshit. But some people couldn't actually have an answer for what he did. And basically, he bent spoons with his mind and that kind of thing. But what I'm getting at is there's people out there who do have talents and superpowers. And I'm just wondering if that has anything to do with the so-called Anunnaki, or the people who were here, the star people who were here before us, that had created us. We have, I'm sure my mind's drawing blank now. The giants, the Nephilim, and they were superhuman. They had superhuman strength. Also, we can even throw Bigfoot into the mix, or any cryptid who has these, these powers that they can run fast, or even disappear, in the forest, and change into like camouflage. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is that's how I wanted to open up this show. Anybody have any thoughts on that?
Dave. If you look at the Anunnaki legend, or Nephilim, going right back to the Bible, if they're giants, they would probably have just superhuman strength, just because they're much larger than the normal human-sized population. So the giants have been proven. You can look at some of the documentation in people's field notes, and see that in the Ohio Valley, the Kanawha Valley, 7-foot giants were found. So it's there. It's not just like one like tall basketball sized guy that was just the one sample. There are many documented. So if you're 7-8 feet tall, you're going to have more superhuman strength and be able to achieve more than like a 5'6" guy.
Right. You know, and
Well, there's also
You get
muscle
the-
density that you have to take in consideration.
uh-huh.
Yeah, there's muscle density, also
Yeah.
pain receptors. There's also just because you can only lift so much before you start tearing ligaments. You know, so also, you know, how strong are the ligaments and everything, you know, connecting to the bone structure itself. There's quite a few things, and also, oh man, there's a certain acid that's excreted through tears, but also it collects in your muscle tissue while you're exercising, and that's when you get that burning sensation in your muscles. It's actually that chemical reaction. Excuse me. There's one endurance swimmer, and they've done tests on him, and this particular um, lysine. That's what it is. I'm sorry, it's lysine. So his body has almost like no lysine, and that's also why he's able to exercise and swim for so long without feeling fatigue, because he actually has, I guess you could call it a deficiency of lysine, and that's how he's able to keep enduring. And it's a genetic anomaly, not necessarily genetic engineering, but it's a genetic anomaly.
But you know, Rick, you can also look at what people have said about the giants is that they do not show the characteristics of having that gigantism related to a pituitary gland malfunctioning. I think you have like larger, like
Well, those people
abnormal-
I've seen, we've seen those people like
Yeah.
in Guinness Book of World Records, right?
Yeah, and they tend to
Yeah.
have frail bones. But like what he's talking about are people with superhuman strength. It could also be from muscle density. Muscle density also factors into strength, not just size, but also the density as well as the actual mass of the muscle.
Well, yeah, and if you look at those, like the Egyptian and Sumerian hieroglyphs, the people that are portrayed as much larger than the other people seem like they are well proportioned. They aren't like suffering from that like pituitary gland problem. So I'm just trying to provide some more evidence that about the muscle density. I think that's the way they were normally look, is like maybe 8 feet tall and well proportioned, muscular, and there was not a genetic defect.
Look, I get where we're going with the Giants, and that was just one example that I brought up. I mean, there's other humans in the Bible, like Samson.
Mhm.
You know, he wasn't a giant, but he kind of leaned towards Nephilim because he had superhuman strength as well. And it's not necessarily superhuman strength. You know, we're talking about the muscle density, and also the possibility of something else behind that. Because I'm looking at, okay, everyone, if you're listening to me, you can go to www.sapienplus.com, real life superhumans, and one of the ones that got my attention, and I remember when I was growing up, he was probably my biggest superhero, and he was a living person, was Bruce Lee. I mean, that man, and he was a man, a human, did things that were almost impossible. You know, he was knocking people back twice his size by barely, and he had, barely punched them like 3 inches away from his fist. I mean, that's ridiculous. He did one-fingered push-ups. He was catching flying rice with chopsticks, and that wasn't, the Karate Kid. That was real. I mean, that's what I mean is when I'm opening the dialogue, I talk about this because this is the stuff I remember growing up, and I don't know if anybody else does, but that's kind of where I'm at. Hey, Ronnie, do you have a story that you want to add to this, or do you have any information?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think it's just, it's a lot of these people are. This comes from, just things that people don't think about is, okay, where do these things come from? It's we are hybrids from advanced races, so maybe some of those things come through because they are way advanced. They do have all these powers and superpowers, and maybe some of those things come through, and our people here just are.
Uh-oh. Ronnie, are you there?
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Did you hear what I said?
Some of it. Then you cut out at the end. Hello? Oh, I think Ronnie's having some phone troubles. Are you there, Ronnie?
Nope.
I think we lost her.
You'll have to call her back. But
Yeah.
yeah, there's
This person cannot be reached at the moment.
Oops. Okay.
yeah, there's Goliath too. He was portrayed as a warrior. I would assume he would have to be in pretty good physical shape to be the leader of the Philistine army. So I think there's, we just covered a few examples of giants from 3,000 years ago.
Right. Well, recorded in in the Bible at least.
Yes, Samson could have been a hybrid.
Samson could have been hybrid.
Yeah, it's all there.
Rick, you're familiar with some of these stories, right?
Oh yeah.
What's your take on some of this stuff? Do you believe that there could be superhumans on the planet?
Yeah, I mean, there's genetic variants across the board any animal, whether it's the human animal or animal out in nature. It's genetic variants. I'm not really a big giant follower. I've been pretty jaded with that after seeing a lot of Photoshop pictures and also just being a healthy skeptic. So I'm not too with the whole giant and biblical thing, but just going off of what is known through contemporary science with genetics and genetic variants, it's anything is possible.
What do you think about the example I gave about like Bruce Lee?
Yeah, with enough training, and so I mean, he obviously had a genetic predisposition to it.
Mm-hmm. That's what
but
I'm
also
talking about.
it was all training and willpower, or the old joke, mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter.
Right.
But yeah, and I'm looking through this list on Sapien Plus, and there's quite a few people that have learned abilities, as well as just being genetic. There's quite a few abilities, and not just people tend to lean towards like the hyper reality of things. So when they hear super abilities, they think of, X-Men, or they think of something out of, Justice League or something like that. And reality is a lot more subtle than that. But I mean, I personally believe that, there is such thing as telekinesis, pyrokinesis, and mental telepathy. Trust me, the Russian and United States governments would not put that much money into research if there wasn't something there.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, in fact, I'm looking at one, Guy Bavli, I'm probably butchering that, telekinetics. And that they're saying is learned. However, right below him is Nina Kolagina, telekinesis, but they're saying it's genetic. Meanwhile, you have Dennis Rogers, super strength. They have it, as learned. The guy can rip apart telephone books. So it comes down to training for a lot of things. And, I think it's a mixture of both. A genetic predisposition helps, but if you don't do anything with it, you're not going to do anything with it.
Yeah, this is a pretty cool website. There was one where I don't know if it's a superpower, but did you see the one I sent out earlier this week where the guy popped his eyeballs out?
Yeah, I don't know about superpower.
Hey, that's pretty gross, but I think it's more of a super talent, maybe. I don't know, but it's definitely pretty nasty. Did you want to add something, Mark?
Yeah, I had. Oh, I don't know. Maybe it's would be seen as a follow-up question for Rick. What about people like Leonardo da Vinci and their mental superpowers?
Okay.
There is one. There was on here. I believe there was a learning superpower.
Yeah,
let's see. Sorry, I'm looking for it.
I think it's.
I think he would be. Yeah, just for conversation's sake, Leonardo just seems like he would be under some kind of category where he just appears on the scene, and what he did with his mental and artistic abilities just revolutionized the world.
Yeah, he definitely did. I think there's a guy on here. His name is Derek Amato. He's a musical genius. That's a superpower. They're saying it's genetic, but it said that Derek had a head trauma or a brain injury, and then after awoken later, he had amazing mathematical, artistic, and musical abilities. It says that Derek loves his gifts. It came to him at a time when he still had not discovered what he wanted to do with his life. So maybe sometimes it happens by accident, like, Spider-Man, he was bitten by a radioactive spider. Does that necessarily mean anybody who's bitten by a radioactive spider is going to have spider superpowers? Probably not.
No, they're going to have radiation poisoning, and depending on the spider, possibly necrotic decay on their hand.
Exactly. Exactly. But it's those are the type of things where I'm like, man, how cool though, how cool would that be? But these are equally, in my opinion, amazing that some of these people are really alive and that they did these kind of things. And one of them is on here is Edward Casey. Edgar Casey. I'm sorry. I couldn't even say his name right. But yeah, the clairvoyant, the guy who fell asleep and then what was it? Automatic writing, I think, where he'd start.
He was able to do that, but also he would he would basically start channeling, and they would write down what he was saying. And in fact, they even went as far as putting a needle under his fingernail to see if he would wake up, and it didn't phase him at all. I mean, he went to deep trance. Yeah.
That's just bizarre.
And so some people, I'm a little bit familiar. I'm not a Casey scholar, so I just want to say that. But people do say that he was a pretty accurate with his predictions. Or whatever. I don't know what you call it. The visions that he saw.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he
I
was pretty accurate.
I don't have an explanation for how he knew all this stuff. A lot of it deals with Atlantis. How many people in the 30s and 40s knew about Atlantis? Not too much. There's more since people are able to go underwater much farther. There's better sophisticated evidence available now. It seems like there is evidence for Atlantis. So how did he know that?
Yeah, it's very possible.
To give the debunker answer, and I'm not a debunker, by the way, but
skeptic.
What a debunker would say is, oh, he must have read it because Homer's writings have been around for centuries and all that. But that's assuming that he read them, or that he had those stories even available to him. And
I think
so. I mean, that's the only other way he'd really be able to know is if he read about it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that he did read about it. You know what I mean? So that's a darn good question. It's an excellent question. How?
Yeah, the couple books where Plato had some information that he heard from past around like the Mediterranean area. That had been translated into English over time. That was available. Yeah, but how accurate was Plato's retelling of what he heard? Oh, I don't know, but modern research is finding that there is evidence for Atlantis. Supposedly elephant bones were found way offshore, like off the Canary Islands. Well, okay, so there was a landmass there one time.
I feel Atlantis is out there. Yeah, I think it is. That'd be pretty cool, if Casey did give the accurate gave an accurate reading of where Atlantis was. And you know what? Why don't we go ahead and take a quick break, guys? We've been on here for about an hour straight, so I'm not used to that. And I need to get some water. We'll be right back, everybody. This is Beyond the Strange Hangouts, Friday Night Hangouts. Superhumans. Don't go away.
Hi, my name is Sebastian Martin, and I'm launching a platform called NSUHO, spelled N-S-U-H-O. And nsuho.com will be soon available as an online streaming video platform with content from anything to do with alternative medicine, UFOs, disclosure, alternative energy, consciousness, and much more. You can like us on Facebook at facebook.com/official nsuho. Thank you.
Hey Beyonders, this is Kat from Our Precious Demise. You are listening to Beyond the Strange.
Welcome back, everybody. This is Beyond the Strange. I'm your host, Dave Cruz. Tonight we are speaking with Mark Eddy and Mr. Rick Sinnott. Tonight we're talking about the Superhumans. It's a very, very loose format of Beyond the Strange tonight, and I just want to say thank you for joining us tonight. We are just having a very candid conversation about real humans having superpowers and super abilities that go far back, as far as the days of the Bible, going back to the days of David and Goliath and Samson, all the way up into today's paranormal community days of Edgar Casey and Uri Geller. One of the things I wanted to mention, and by the way, if you want to get in on the chat, it's at the BTS Hangouts Superhumans video that's going on in YouTube live right now, and there's a few people in there right now, so you can get in there and start chatting, or you can go to hashtag Be Strange. There's a column right there in your tweet deck that you can put in there, hashtag Be Strange. One of the people I was looking at here on Sapien Plus, and Rick had mentioned earlier, is Nina Kulagina. I think I'm saying that correctly. Interesting. They actually have footage of her doing these telekinetic, what do you want to call them?
Feats.
Feats. I wanted to say something else, but I can't think right now. I don't know why. It's Friday night, but she's doing it for over 20 years of her life, apparently she didn't know about it till later on, or people didn't know about it till later on in her adult life. But apparently she's from Russia or the Soviet Union at the time, and yeah, they have a lot of this stuff documented on film. And also, she could also identify diseases of the sick folk that she encountered. She had healing powers as well. She could see images. Oh, hey, we got John Polk coming in. Let me see if I can bring him into the call. Welcome, John. How you doing tonight? John, are you there? Okay, I see John, but I don't hear John. So maybe we'll get him here in a second. But Nina Kolagina saw colors with her fingertips as well. I mean, these are just amazing things that, you know, I don't hear about every day. So I just thought it'd be interesting. Unusual. That is unusual, isn't it? That's pretty bizarre.
I'm trying to tempt Alex into calling.
Oh, really? Yeah, you know what? That's a great point. You know, and I wasn't sure if he was busy tonight or not, but
Alex is always busy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
He's a busy
but
guy.
Yeah,
he and Jimmy are both busy. Always.
You want to get him. You want to get him in the you know, in the Hangouts or in the Skype. That'd be great. Yeah. You probably know a lot more about this subject.
Dave, what do you think about what scientists and doctors are doing to people to like create like a bionic man, make people live to be 150 years old, like real science fiction kind of stuff? Do you consider that to be superhuman feats?
Yeah, I mean,
it's not natural.
It's kind of cheating.
It's it is kind of cheating because you're using science and using the tech, but they are capabilities and powers that not regular humans would have.
It's still on the same subject, but it's a little different because you're not normally born with parts of metal in you, wires and stuff like that, to make you a bionic person. It's just another facet that we could get into. It does fit into tonight's theme of superhuman people.
That's true. That's true. I believe we have John Polk with us now. John, are you there?
I am. How are you?
Hey, John. How you doing tonight?
I just woke up, actually.
Oh, I thought you were doing your other show.
No, actually, that was canceled because Janet's at a conference. But I'm pretty sure that I'm actually going to be going to the UFO Congress, which is in mid-February now.
Oh, that's
so.
Great.
Yeah. I think that we've all concluded that I'm going to be going with them because Ken Johnston, who is a former Apollo astronaut trainer, my editor and publicist Karen Patrick, she edited 5 books for him, including an 800-page photo journal, and they're going to have a table at the UFO Congress. So I think I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be selling my books at their table, and they're going to be selling his books at that table. So looking forward to it.
No, that sounds great, man, and definitely keep us in the loop when you do that. That'd be awesome. So tonight we have with us Mr. Mark Eddy. Mark, say hi to John.
Hey, John. Nice to meet with you.
Hey, Mark. How are you?
All fine. And we've kind of been
oops, sorry.
working together behind the scenes, and it's nice to actually talk with you.
Likewise.
And also, John, with us we have Mr. Rick's in it.
Hey, John, how's it going?
Hey, Rick, how are you?
Hanging in there.
All right, excellent.
Literally, he's hanging in there in the hangouts.
Pun intended.
But I'm sorry. It's just one of those evenings.
Yeah, we're all a little bit slap happy and happy the week is over. It's
Oh,
just like,
yeah. Let's definitely get it past us, put it behind us, man, and just move forward. But yeah, it's been a pretty interesting evening. I've been talking to the audience, and we've all been talking to the audience actually about the superhumans that are really out there. I've named a few. One of them that came up was Edgar Casey, and I know a bit about him, and we spoke a little bit about him, but I have a feeling you know a little bit more about Edgar Casey. Is that the case?
I do. I know quite a bit about him, actually.
Yeah, and one of the things that Rick was pointing out is he said that when he was under his trance, that people were actually able to put needles. Was it needles or nails, Rick?
Needles underneath his fingernails to see if he would react, and nothing. He just kept on going like it was like nothing was happening.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty superhuman in my opinion. What else do you know about Edgar Casey?
Well, this is perhaps just mythology or rumor has it, but supposedly David Wilcock is the reincarnation of him also.
Someone pointed that out in the chat, as a matter of fact.
Mm-hmm. And that he prophesized about a number of things. I think prophesized is a good word to use with Edgar Casey, but he prophesized that we Americans were former Atlanteans from Atlantis. That was other part of his prophecy also. And he also talked about a library or a hall of records underneath the paws of the Sphinx out in the Giza out in Giza in Egypt, which I found very interesting, and that one day that it would be found, and I do believe that it's already been found, and that Egypt is just keeping it under wraps because they don't want anybody to know that they basically have a Vatican library underneath the Sphinx.
That's pretty interesting. Mark, do you know anything about that?
Other than I've heard the same information. I can't take it any further. I'm just agreeing that I've also heard it. There's like some kind of library. Hey, if they can do testing to prove it or disprove it, let's do it.
Right.
No more hiding this history. Let's find out.
Yeah, Edgar Casey is definitely an enigma, that's for sure. And another one of the, I don't know if you've heard of this other person, John, too. I'm just kind of getting you caught up on a couple of people we talked about. We talked about Bruce Lee, of course. That's definitely I mean, he was a freak of nature in my book. Awesome man. Died way too young. But
and so his son.
Yes.
I remember how his son died of that freak accident during the Crow movie. I mean, if that movie didn't dig up some deep, dark spiritual energy, I don't know what else could.
That whole, man, there could be a whole show on just those two. I mean, the way that, yeah, exactly how Brandon Lee died was almost exactly to how Bruce Lee died in Game of Death. That's bizarre. I mean, that's just really, really strange. And we could definitely talk about that on another topic show. One of the people I was talking about was a person by the name of Nina Kulagina, and I don't know if you've heard of this lady, but she had telekinesis. What do you know about people with telekinetic powers, John, or do you even feel that that's something that people actually have?
I can perform telekinesis with my pendulums.
That's right. You showed it to me on the Skype camera.
Yeah, I mean, I have challenged people, like, all right, put your money on the table. I'll bet you anything. I can spin 2 different pendulums with 2 different weights, 2 different lengths, at different velocities at the same time with my hands anchored to something like a table or whatever, and I can do both of them at the same time, and it's incredibly hard to do, but I can do it. And I at one time I was betting this group that I'll leave nameless because they don't want me to. They're like challenging me that they will sue me if I use their name. But I was sitting there warming up with my pendulums, and we were going to bet $5,000 that I could do it. And I had my $5 grand out cash, and they decided they didn't want to do it because they knew they would lose.
Yeah, I remember seeing you do it, man. It was pretty awesome. I would not bet against you, and if that was the case, I saw it happen. I'd put my money with you. It'd probably make a pretty good penny doing that. But yeah, I mean, it's all pretty interesting. Do you feel that these people are well, like with you? Is this something that's learned, or is this something that people are born with, these capabilities?
I believe it can be learned, but I think you're more born with it. A lot of people that actually say that they can do telekinesis, they're performing parlor tricks. They're just playing with our mind with basic concepts. Like in magic, just basic concepts in magic. A lot of people that say they're actually doing telekinesis, they're not. But can I, move objects with my mind? If I stare at a fan blade long enough on my ceiling fan, I can get it to move sometimes. But it's incredibly hard to do.
John, one of the interesting things about the legacy of Stephen King is, books like Firestarter. That was the one where the little girl could get things to catch on fire.
I remember the movie. It was a good movie.
Yeah, George C. Scott and very young Drew Barrymore. And Stephen King. It's like even bands like Blue Oyster Cult. They have developed novels or songs based on these unusual aspects of life. Like we were talking about, like the telekinesis or fire starting. And, there's just really a lot of things we just don't understand. Sure, they're the parlor tricks. Okay, we can set them aside. But I'm just talking about these real mental abilities, or like these innate powers that people have. Where do they come from? Is that just something like God put that ability in the child? Like, what's the purpose of it? It's just really unusual to think about. What's the reason for it? How can it help the world to be a better place? Look at Edgar Casey's predictions. Seems like he was able to help people to get medical treatment before X-rays were used.
Well, so what exactly is the question? Why?
It's like, what? It's these are just some really limited cases throughout humans' ability to document telekinesis. It's interesting. where does it come from? What's the point of people having this ability? It's just interesting to study, the few people that tackle these unusual subjects. I don't know what the question really is. I'm just
No, but I can bounce off of what you just said. Is the Bible to me, I really believe that about half of it is totally true. But if you change some words around, archangel, if you turn that into extraterrestrial, you turn God in the Bible into an extraterrestrial, I believe that probably half to a lot of the Bible is true, even though it's been translated and retranslated 50 or more times. But that being said, in the Bible, Jesus Christ said anything that he can do, that we will be capable of doing ourselves, if we believe that we can do it. And I do believe that that is at least partially true for a lot of human beings. Number one, you have to believe that you can do it, and if you don't believe you can do it, then you can't. And it's funny because I got 2 shows tonight, this one, and I'm on Wolfman Mike's show in about 40 minutes or so. But I was laying in bed and I couldn't really sleep because I got to work all day tomorrow, and I'm just sitting there laying there thinking, God, man, I got 2 shows and I can't sleep. I'm going to be just dead tired tomorrow. But an old roommate of mine, I was thinking about this when I wasn't able to sleep. At first I told him, hey, if you're going to move into my house, you have to understand that my house is haunted. And he didn't know if he believed it or not, but he was open-minded to it. And then I said, shortly after he moved in, I said, believe it or not, dude, I can see angels. And he didn't believe that either. And I'll tell you what, before he moved out, which was about a year later, he could see angels also. I literally taught him how to do it. And so not so much that I taught him how to see angels, is that he had the gift and the ability all along. I just enabled him to open his mind to the fact that he could. And I remember we're sitting in my living room one night and we're talking about, I'm like, dude, I can see a ghost right there in the hallway. And he walks up and he puts his arm around it and he's laughing, like, oh yeah, is he like right here? And I'm like, believe it or not, dude, you put your arm right around him. And that was the beginning of all of it. And then I don't know, within probably 4 or 5 days after that, I had a guitar leaning up against this amp that I sing through, and we both saw a little ghost. It was probably, I don't know, maybe a foot tall, and we both saw it at the same time. And when he explained to me what he saw, I explained the exact same thing to him. And he's like, well, what is it, or who is it? And I said, that ghost is actually a miscarried baby from a girl that used to live with me right before you moved in. So, oh, wow. I'm totally serious. I called the baby Angel. Wow. It was my unborn son, and I don't have any children. I always wanted kids, but it just never worked out for me.
That is definitely amazing. When you said that too, when you said, a foot, how small the ghost was, I was thinking that sounds like a child. That's a trip.
Yeah, basically a fetus. This is really gross and messed up, but she ended up having a miscarriage in the bathroom while going to the bathroom. And that was my unborn son. So I'm just crazy to think about. I hadn't thought about it in a long time.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. But that's a very interesting story, John. And one of these days you're gonna have to show me how to talk to angels too. I mean, I've reached out to angels, but I've never been able to talk to them. But I think that's pretty awesome that you're able to do that. I mean, that's a capability right there, a superpower in my book, and that's pretty awesome. Some of the things that we've talked about too is people with superhuman strength, and to go back over it, we reviewed the Nephilim, of course. We talked about Samson. He was definitely part Nephilim, in my opinion.
He was,
and he killed all those people with the jawbone of an ass. and that's pretty crazy. I mean, that's awesome, actually. when
Well,
you
and
think about it.
David and Goliath was he was definitely a Nephilim. He was a giant.
Yep, Mark brought that up. What about David? I mean, able to just hit him right in the spot where to kill him. That's pretty super accuracy, in my opinion.
Well, and his son became Solomon, and Solomon was given a ring by the archangel Gabriel that controlled the demons, and they built he built structures with it. He built a temple on Temple Mount in Jerusalem with the help of the demons, with this ring that controlled the demons.
Mm-hmm.
So that's superhuman stuff also. Number one, the fact that you'd have that kind of technology, that's just crazy to think about. That and the Ark of the Covenant. There's two magical technological devices that were heavily chronicled in the Bible and the Hebrew Bible also, which is really interesting.
That's very interesting. And there's some of these people that we've talked about tonight, that it's really just fascinating that we have. I really wish I could have seen Doctor Strange before we did the show, because I really believe Doctor Strange was like one of my favorite superheroes in Marvel Comics. And it's interesting that he used magic against magic, and some people would say that he was using demon magic, but he was fighting demons. To me, magic is magic, in a way. I mean, I know there's dark magic and I know there's light magic, but when you think about it, it's
well, the trick with magic is the way it's used.
Right.
Thank
you. That's where I was going. Right.
That's what a lot of people lose track on. It's the way it's used. It's the intent behind it. There's, and when you come across things like the metaphysical, things like that, there's really no solid proof. It's not like you can go into the local library and pull out a book that'll tell you, dead on facts. There is no quote unquote common knowledge with it. But from my understanding and with the practitioners that I've met and known, throughout my life, it's more the intent, and also it goes along with the rule of Reed. Whatever you put out, you get back 3 times. That also means anything bad. So, that's what the great governing factor is with it is, whatever you put out, it's going to come back to you 3-fold. Well, in theory, a way that you can mitigate any of the bad effects from negative magic is making a deal with a demon or a negative entity that can kind of act as the buffer.
Very good. No.
But also, I have to apologize to everybody. I have to go. I'm being called by my family, and
hey.
But
that trumps the show, dude. It's all good.
Oh, trumps the show.
No pun intended. No pun intended. I swear.
We're trying to leave that, but
I know.
But yeah, I apologize for the early departure. But thank you for having me on, and thank you everybody for listening to me rant earlier.
That's all right, man. Hey, Rick, thanks. We'll talk later, brother.
No problem. And everybody, just be safe out there, regardless of who you are, what you look like, whatever. Right now, I have a friend who narrowly missed a big protest in Portland, and where it could have gone bad for him, he's black. So, it's like, oh yeah. So, anyway, good night and be safe.
All right, man. You have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Good night. Good night, Rick.
Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, that's. Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, I just had a question for John. Since you've studied Casey, Did he say exactly where Atlantis was located?
According to Casey, it was basically where the Atlantic Ocean is now.
Okay.
There's evidence of an ancient civilization not far from where I live. I live in Orlando, Florida. But if you go to the Keys in Florida, you can actually see evidence of roads right off of the Keys. These ancient, even breakwaters for an inlet for boats. All these fossilized structures that are, some of them are only in like 15 feet of water. Now, on the first show that I did with Dave, my show that I did with Dave, I had an Atlantis expert named Brett Colin Shepard, and he says that Casey is completely wrong about that. That yes, there is evidence of a civilization that was in the Atlantic Ocean, not far from where I live now here in Florida, but what he says, and he debates that Atlantis was actually in parts of Western Europe. So I don't know. I don't know who's correct, and I don't think that any of us will know.
John, did you come across any information about these ancient canals along the sea coast as well?
Which sea coast?
Like the Atlantic seaboard. I think there were some located.
I have actually. There's like with ground penetrating radar, you can find fossilized rivers that are underneath the continental shelf off of the coast of the Atlantic. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I did a show with a guy who claimed that the aerial photos that he had showed that there were man-made canals that are, kind of inland, and as like there were some inland, some out in the water, and maybe some of the roads that you're talking about could have filled in with sediment, and they look like roads now, but at one time he's claiming that they were canals. And it's kind of an interesting theory.
Yeah, absolutely. But here's something else that's interesting is that Mu or Lemuria was actually out in the Pacific. We have to consider that right around 12,500 years ago, or 10,500 BC, the polar ice caps were upwards of 5 to 10 miles thick. So how much less ocean was there on this planet? And therefore, less ocean means more land exposed. So there was the continent of Mu or Lemuria, which was in the Pacific Basin, and then Atlantis, which I do believe Edgar Casey was right, was in the Atlantic. Atlantic. I believe that he was totally correct, and that the sea levels were even upwards of a mile lower than they are right now. So how much more land would be exposed? Perhaps twice as much land as we have now. So it's interesting to think about.
I think Dave's going to have a show coming up soon about Mu and
Lemuria.
Yeah.
If we're going to be talking with Dave from Road to Ruins, or were you referring to from Mary Joyce?
Oh no, it's another guest.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that would. Yeah, there's some evidence that Merle will probably discuss some.
Oh, Merle. Okay, I'm sorry.
Roads that are have to be pretty old, with like an ancient lava flow over the roads. Well, you know the road has to be older than the lava flow. Right? So this theory seems like it has evidence supporting it that it really happened. So if the water levels were so much lower, how much more of Hawaii, some of the Pacific Islands were much larger land masses.
Yeah, and all of Indonesia also, which is basically a bunch of volcano tops. Right around 10,500 BC, the polar ice caps were melting at an exponential rate. And it's also a trip that the poles probably shifted around that time also, because in parts of northern Russia, you can find evidence of woolly mammoths that had undigested grass and stuff in their stomachs and unchewed grasses in their mouths, and they were flash frozen. I mean, they were flash frozen. So what kind of epic global event happened to flash freeze that part of the world, in Siberia? So, I mean, and there was evidence that Siberia used to be lush a long time ago, that even Antarctica was lush. The Piri Reis map and the Orontes Phineas map show Antarctica as it was perhaps, I don't know, 12,500 years ago, when it was not buried under 3 miles of ice. And it was probably about 1,000 miles west of where it is now, which would have put it in more of a hospitable part of the planet. So what global event could have taken place to move the poles like that? I don't know. It's debatable.
It seems
Younger
like
Dryas comment.
That was where I was going. The layer of ash that has been found around a lot of the world.
Mm-hmm. You can see it in sedimentary deposits.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You ever heard of Bob Schock?
I've heard of him.
Yeah, he's a geologist, and he was one of the first people to put forth the theory that the Sphinx is about 12,500 years old, because it shows evidence of water erosion, what you would call strata. So if you look at water erosion, it will make rocks kind of form into like rounded curvatures just from the water coming down, and it just creates different erosion in the rocks. And the Sphinx shows that, and so does the Great Pyramid also. So, some of the Egyptologists that are just so stuck in, it's this, it's that, it's only, 5,000 years old. I'm not buying that for a second.
The Sphinx also shows horizontal water erosion around the body. Rain. So that's more of like, water coming up after the Sphinx was built and eroding around the sides of it. If it's raining on the Sphinx, well, the rain erosion is going to be like vertical erosion, just on the back and then down the sides. Well, Dr. Schock shows where the erosion is from like the toe to the tail. It's horizontal. So the Sphinx sat in water, running water for certain period of time.
That's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, there's scientific evidence to prove it. I mean, if you want to use science, then let's go there. Use science. All the Egyptologists that are stuck in, it was Ramses and, Khafre, and no, it was none of those guys. It was a dynastic pharaonic time period that predates what they are coming up with the mainstream archaeology, and they're all wrong.
Wow. Hey guys, you know what? We're going to go ahead and wrap it up a little earlier tonight, but I want to thank you both for being on the show along with Rick Sinnott. John, you want to give out your show, Quantum Hologram Matrix, when and where people can find it?
Sure. Quantum Hologram Matrix, every Wednesday, 8 to 10 Eastern time, that is. And my next guest is Jeff Dougherty, and he is what he calls the Christian whistleblower. So that'll be this Wednesday on the Spaceboy Universe Network, sbunetwork.com. And anybody and everybody's welcome to join us. And I believe that we'll be opening up the phone lines around 9:30 p.m. Eastern also with some call-ins.
That's awesome. That's got to be nice. I'm so jealous. Oh man, one of these days I'll have a call-in show. But no, that's great. Yeah, and you do you have a website or Facebook?
I do.
Or Twitter? Any of that?
Yeah, I have two books that are available for purchase. One of them is Yahweh, the Biblical God is an Alien, and The Blue Beings, Visitation at the UFO Conference. And both of them can be found and purchased through my website, which is johnpolkmedia.com, johnpolkmedia.com. And if anybody wants to connect with me via social media, please do so at Reverend Polk on Twitter and at QH Matrix on Twitter also. And if you want to connect with me on Facebook, look me up under Marcus Polk. And
Sweet.
That's the way to get in touch with me. Yes.
Right on, Mark. And you are on Freedom Slips.
Yes. Monday nights from 10 to midnight on Studio A.
And for all those who don't know what Freedom Slips is, it's also known as Revolution Radio.
Yes.
I've heard of that. Okay, cool.
Yep. So, hey, gentlemen, thanks again for being on the show. And until next time, you guys have a great evening.
It was fun.
You too. Thanks, Dave. Nice to meet you, Mark.
Take care, John. Thanks, Dave.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Thanks again, guys. All right. Let's go ahead and wrap it up tonight. It's been a great evening. Thank you again, Rick Sennett, Mark Eddy, Reverend John Polk. You guys are great. And Athena, who was on for just a second, but we really appreciate you being on the show as well. So with that, everyone, I want to remind you that this Sunday's Beyond the Strange is at 7 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. Sunday night guest is going to be Mary Joyce. Cherokee People Were Real. Little People Were Real. It's going to be great. Paranormal researcher and journalist Mary Joyce. You don't want to miss it. Be there. All right. So again, thanks to our guests again. Or not my guest, but yeah, our guest tonight. I guess you could say that. I'm sorry, it's getting late. Host and executive producer, creator of Beyond the Strange is Dave Cruz. Co-executive and creative producer of Beyond the Strange is Rick Sennett. Associate producers for BTS is Deb J. Retweets and postings by Dennis Koch. Intro music by Zebrafish. Go to soundcloud.com/Zebrafish music. Disclaimer announced by Casper Parks. Visit him at casperparks.com. Music is by Alan Hall and Melody Loops. And tonight's broadcast of Beyond the Strange is owned and copyrighted by Dave Cruz. Cannot be rebroadcast, copied, or downloaded without written consent of Beyond the Strange Radio. Until Sunday night, remember Mary Joyce. You're going to love it. We'll see you then. Everyone, don't be a stranger. Just be strange. Hasta.
Thank you.